Welcome to the Mailright Agent Real Estate Show, episode 31. So today's special guest is Jordan Scheltgen, and he's the managing partner of Cave Social. Basically, I understand you make real estate life exciting and interesting. Is that it?
That's what we try to. We try to help brokerages and agents and everybody, not be boring when it comes to the internet.
Not be boring, right? Okay, I'm pretty boring on my internet site too. Probably helped me out.
Right, Jordan. It's really appreciative that you came on the show. I read your article, your latest article on Inman. Agents, it's time not to stop marketing like 205. So it was a really interesting article. So would you like to quickly explain the points you were trying to make in your great article?
Yeah, for sure. I think the whole theme behind the article was just that the industry needs to change and we need to be self-aware, and that's self-aware as agents, self-aware as brokerages, self-aware if we're selling technology in real estate, whatever it may be, but just be aware of where our customers are and where their attention is going, and just making sure that we're with them as they change from platform to platform, and is really where they start engaging, we're there to engage with them, right? So as people, in the article, it touches on how email open rates have been cut in half, for instance, right? So it's just harder and harder to stand out in that noise. So if you're ahead of the game and you're taking advantage of social media, it makes it a little bit easier to create those connections and really have your voice heard.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I actually think it's worse. I think a lot of agents are still in the 90s, and a lot of brokerages. We had Kelly on Mitchell a few episodes ago, and she said a lot of brokerages are like dinosaurs. So she was quite scathing. So I get the gist of it, but can you give a couple of examples that how social media can be used, or new media in general, that you found consulting agents and brokers is pretty effective? Yeah,
for sure. Obviously, it's easy for me to get up here and say, hey, social media is where you need to be, right? But having some actionable tips is definitely why you guys are all listening and why you guys invited me on. So I think something that you can kind of take away as an actionable tip whenever you're on it, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it may be, is really before you post anything, think to yourself, one, would I share this? And two, am I giving value to people, or am I asking for value, right? Because we want to make sure that we're giving value. And what I mean by that is we want to be answering questions that our customers, our buyers, our home sellers might have. So it's things like, where are the best schools? What is the job market looking like in Charlotte, North Carolina, for instance? How can we write about those things that potential buyers may be interested in and may be searching for and may be looking for, before that they're ready to actually pick an agent? So I think it's one of those things where really, as you go through, take advantage of Facebook and know that people are going there to take a break from their day and take a break from being sold to. They want to be entertained. They want to communicate with people, and they want to do so in a way that's not so intrusive.
Yeah. I think, obviously I'm the CEO of a company called Mailright, and we sell services, automated services, and we try and get more referrals from your existing client base. So we provide, kind of scheduled social media content, but what we say to clients is we just help you fill in the cracks and the volume that you might not understand that you need to pump out. But we also say that you should supply half to a third yourself, and it should be exactly the kind of content that you've just outlined. But do you think a lot of agents don't really also understand that the amount of content they've got to pump out, and they have actually got to be available and actually engage with people around that content?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the biggest mistake that, or thing that I hear people say, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I don't have time, or I don't understand it. We all have one of these guys, right? And this is your best weapon. You can produce content all the time on your phone. You can take a photo, upload it to Facebook, and it takes 15 seconds to, hey, I'm, checking in with my favorite clients, having lunch with people I worked with 2 years ago. If you meet somebody, add them on LinkedIn, actionable, add them on LinkedIn within 10 minutes of meeting them, right? You've just met them, add them on LinkedIn. Now they're going to see your updates down the line. It's just I think it's changing the priority, right? And making it, hey, I'm going to dedicate 15, 20 minutes of my day every day to being active on social media, whether that's going out and, in the early days, it's hard. People, they just post and not getting engagement. One thing I would do is go and start conversations with people. Go on Twitter, and in the Twitter, you can actually go to the top and search. And I would search your local area, your county, see what people are talking about, and start conversations with them. Go and say, if they're saying, hey, moving to Charlotte, thinking, where's a good place to settle, you can go and tweet at them, hey, I love this area. Or if they're asking for a recommendation on a restaurant, it doesn't even have to be, hey, buy real estate with me, sell real estate with me, right? To get that following initially, I think it's all about starting the conversation, because you wouldn't go up to somebody on the street and say, hey, buy something from me, right? Someone you didn't know. You'd want to build a relationship with them. You wouldn't do that at a networking event either. At a networking event, you'd talk to them, you'd go back and forth, you'd learn about them. And then once they learned about you and it was time and they were ready to purchase, they would reach out to you. So I think that's something that is just to kind of have in the back of your mind. It's almost like social media is the real world cocktail party, now where we're going and we're able to shake hands and we're able to do it with people all over the world, right? I'm able to sit here and we're all in different cities right now talking, and there's people from all over the US who have, came onto this show and are able to learn, and we're able to connect, ask questions. So I think it's one of these things where it's really just about being proactive.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. A couple of weeks ago, we had a Twitter expert, Samantha Kelly, the Twitter goddess as her tag name. And she's got an agency in Ireland, but she's very active on Blab. And that's where I met her, actually. So getting yourself out and about is important, isn't it, Jordan?
It's imperative. It's one of these things where it's a must do, especially as you move into 2016, and that, people live on social. And one of the things I said in the post, and I'll reiterate it here, is that having a the amount that is spent on things like commercials, right, is absurd to me, because every time a commercial comes on, I'm hitting mute and I'm pulling out my phone and I'm going on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right? So you have an opportunity to hit me with messaging there, right? Well, I'm waiting for my show to come back on. I'm waiting for, the NFL playoffs to come back on, whatever it may be. You can actually get me there into commercials, because it's kind of like, if you get the same messaging over and over again, it gets drowned out, right? We've all seen that car going through the desert a million times, and I don't know what car it is on that commercial, right? And it's the same thing. And we kind of touched on it a bit with real estate, right? If you're always saying that same messaging on Facebook and not going out and building the connection, people are going to drown you out too. So we want to avoid that.
Yeah, I think another factor, because obviously the National Association of Realtors have got some great reports, and they said the average age of an agent in the US is over 50. I think also a lot of them do not understand the kind of attitude of millenniums and Generation X's. They're very savvy. They don't like direct selling. They expect you to be on social media to engage in them, and they want a service to be to kind of be sold to them, but in a very different way to maybe like 20 years ago. Would you agree with that?
100%. They want service. It doesn't matter. Millennials, and they want a service sold to them, but they also want to make up their decision before they're ever in contact with the business. So Google released a stat, and 57% of the sales process is done before the consumer ever contacts a business. So they're going and they're researching you. They're checking out what you're about. Do you have reviews on Google? Do you have reviews on Yelp? Are you active on Facebook, right? Because as I'm going and I'm researching for an agent, I want to see that they're active on social media, because that tells me they're in touch with modern marketing. and that tells me they're going to give the best chance, and they're, to sell my house or to help me purchase a home, that they're really going to put their best foot forward. And it's kind of just that reaffirming trust, right? Because we're only going to buy from who we trust. We're very high BS indicators, right? We can read through anything that comes, and it's just so easy to spot, right?
I totally agree with you. I was remarking to Bill, I was looking at some agents on Zillow and the reviews, and there were some agents, and it was pretty obvious that they wrote most of those reviews. They weren't real email addresses, and most of those reviews had been written, and they're not doing themselves any favours, are they, really, Jordan, are they?
No, we live in it's the day and age of transparency. And if you go out and all there is you have 300 5-star reviews, right? If people will read through that in a second, because no matter how good you are, you're going to have an off day, or maybe you had a great day, but somebody only wanted to rate you a 4 out of 5, still a good rating, right? It's just so easy to see through and comment, and people commenting on their own posts. And it really also is this change that needs to happen. And it's really getting away from vanity metrics is what I'll call them. So let me explain that quickly. A vanity metric would be something like the amount of likes on your Facebook page, or giving yourself a 5-star review, right? I have 10 5-star reviews. In the end of the day, those don't really mean very much, right? Where taking and digging a little deeper, instead of, hey, I have, let's say it's 1,000 Facebook likes, right? That doesn't mean anything if nobody is engaging with my content. So I'll take 10 people on Twitter who are engaging with my content day in and day out over 1,000, bots. I went and go buy 1,000 followers that don't engage. It's really putting your effort and measuring your marketing success in just the completely wrong way.
Yeah, what about the volume? The kind of services that we provide, part of it is we provide content that's, we can provide very local, regional, or just national, but it's all checked over by myself personally, and we put that in their feed. But especially around Twitter, you get a lot of agents saying, oh, that's a lot of Twitters, but I don't think you can over Twit. You can over Facebook, but I feel it's practically impossible to over Twit. As long as you don't keep doing the same Twit post, it's practically impossible. And I try and explain that there's different cultures, and don't use your Twitters on your Facebook. That's suicide. You might as well just cut your wrists open. So what's your thoughts about this? Can you over Twitter? What's the difference between Twitter and Facebook and maybe LinkedIn in your experience?
For 100%. So here's the way I look at it. If you were at a bar, right? Twitter is the dance floor. Things are happening. They're happening fast. The DJ's playing a new song every minute and a half. You're dancing around. So you got to be up. You got to be paying attention to the conversation.
Yeah, I think we have to. We're going to have to go for a break, Georgian, and let my co-host handle it, and then we'll come back about the non-dance floor social media.
Okay.
So let's go over to my co-host, Bill Conrad.
Hey, just want to thank our sponsor today, Share the Oils. Share the Oils Northern Nevada. We really appreciate your support and your backing of this episode. Jonathan, with that, I'll give it back to you.
Oh, thanks, Bill. So we were just talking about the dance floor and Twitter being, the kind of person on the dance floor. So continue, Georgia, with your insights.
For sure. So yeah, if Twitter is the dance floor where things are, they're happening, like I said, every 2 seconds, it seems like it's changing. You got a new dance move that you got to learn. It's a lot to take in, right? So it takes a lot more attention. But there's also a lot more variety, and you can be a lot more involved and a lot more active. Think about Facebook like a sit-down restaurant. Facebook is where you're sitting down and you're able to have a conversation maybe with 5 or 6 people. There's the table next to you. You might meet them, but it's a lot slower conversation. And LinkedIn is the bank down the road where you got to go in there and you have to, you got to be a little bit more professional. The messaging, you're not going there as frequently, but you're going to go there and you're there, with a purpose. So I think that's the way I like to look at, messaging frequency with regards to I think you should be on Facebook every day. I also, with context with that, I think you should try to provide something interesting on Facebook every day, right? Yeah. So there's two ways you can do that. One is make your own content. Two is if you can't make any content, go and find 2 or 3 awesome resources in your area that are sharing stuff, so then you can curate. So you can curate and just share that stuff. So, hey, I don't have any content today, but there's an article that Forbes.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you about, you get some social media gurus that are a bit sniffy about curated content. And I just think it's a balance myself. Obviously, you want to produce some of it yourself, but I also think as long as you're somebody's doing it for you and they're spending time on it and it meets your requirements, there's nothing wrong with a mixture. What do you feel about that?
100%. I mean, what it really comes down to is time constraints, right? Like, and to develop great content is hard and takes a lot of time. So a lot of times it's easier and it's just more effective in terms of looking at,
Can I ask you a question about, because I think the other thing that people got to be aware of, it's a bit like what you said about email marketing. And I still strongly believe in email marketing, but not the type that you were describing in your post, your article. But I also think the same applies to social media. People expect images, video, the standard of the type of social media content that will get retweeted, recommented, favoured, whatever, has to be of a higher standard than even maybe 18 months ago. Would you agree with that?
100%. And it comes back to, people. There's so many people contributing every single day to these platforms. So to stand out, it really comes into, you need to make content that is 2 or 3 times better to have something truly go, right? This was my 12th or 13th post on Inman, and it's done the best, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of these things where, you got to put out something that's 2 to 3 times better than other stuff that people are seeing at that time. It doesn't need to be 2 or 3 times better than everything.
I know it was a great article, but I think we've got to be real here. Also, you need really good titles, don't you?
Yeah.
That was a good title, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's Brian Clark of Copywriter says, and this might be a little bit long, but he says you need to spend as long developing the headline as you do developing the article. For everyone here, if you're looking to do any headline creation, there's a site called BuzzSumo, which is BuzzSumo.com, and you can go and research titles that have done really well for similar topics. So that's one that I use regularly. But I also, that post was made out of a rant. I got a lot of emails one day. So
well, it's funny how you mentioned Brian, because I actually know Brian and we've actually interviewed him, Jordan. He's a great guy and he's spoken about property he calls it being super local, being an agent really wants to be like an authority figure in their local area about what's going on in their area. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you have to be the authority in your area because you are the local expert. That's why, people are moving in and out of your county, your city, and they need help and they need assistance on, hey, you want to move here because this school is best, your proximity to jobs, maybe they know that construction is going to happen. They can have that insight into the neighborhood. And you really get that feeling when you meet an agent face to face, right? You get that feeling of, hey, they really know what's going on. They have a pulse. That a lot of time agents have grown up where they are, or they've lived there for 20 years. They have that kind of it factor when it comes to knowledge. And I think that taking that and kind of putting that into their content and not being afraid to say, hey, this is the best street in the city, right?
Yeah.
I always have this off. Yeah, I always have it off. And that's my son.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to have one more question, then maybe go through some of the resources that I think will be useful and get your reactions to some of the things. But I'll finish off with one question with this part, and then we'll probably go into another break, and which will be asking how people can contact you. But my last real question before the break is, if you were agent, and let's say this was your 2016 was your second year as agent, how would you market yourself, Jordan? What would you be doing? What things would you be looking at? And how would you be planning your marketing in 2016?
For sure. So yeah, I'm going into my second year. I'm an agent. Right away, I would look at the amount that I made in my first year. Let's take the median income for a real estate agent last year, and I would look at that and say, okay, it's $43,000. I would say I'm going to take 10%, so $4,300, and that's what I'm going to spend through this year. One thing that we want to be really cognizant of with real estate marketing is obviously marketing in the first 6 months is more important than in the last 6 months, because everybody moves in the summer, right? When their kids are changing, it's much easier on families to move through the summer. We see spikes. That means people are looking for the first 6 months. I would go and I would spend primarily, if I was on a tight budget, it would be primarily on Facebook and spending on a combination of boosting posts to my existing fans or to people that I went and targeted, and then also running adverts. Facebook actually has a platform now in there where you can go in and see people who are likely to move. So they have all these indicators. Hey, these people are likely to move, and I would market to them. This is something where if you look at the average cost for 3,000 or 4,000 impressions, so that's eyeballs on your content, that costs about $32 in a local newspaper, where it costs $4 on Facebook. So you're looking at an eighth of the price, and it's where people's eyeballs are now, right? We're looking at millennial buyers. It's going to be the biggest home buying generation ever, bigger than the baby boomers. Millennials do not open newspapers, right? They're on their Facebook feeds. They're there. So I would take it and I would go and say, okay, how do I make the most of Facebook advertising and boosting posts, and run all the other networks. But if you build one up, you're able to then co-promote and promote your Twitter, promote LinkedIn. So that's how I would spend, just because right now it's still the best bang for your buck.
What about agent having their own website? Do you think that's really important?
I do. I think if you don't have your own website, the first thing that's going to happen, if I go and Google your name, because that's what I'm going to do when I'm thinking about purchasing from you, and if you don't have a website, I'm going to think that you might not have a business, or I'm going to not know what's going on. It's okay if you have some agents have like a subdomain of their broker or team. That's okay, as long as it's personalized to you. But I mean, a domain name these days is $12 for your name, right? Yeah. And it's a no-brainer.
Right then, thanks for that, Jordan. We're going to go on to our next break. So back to my co-host, Bill Conrad.
Well, Jordan, that means it's time for your commercial. And what we want to know is the listener wants to know, how can they get a hold of you? And then tell the listener exactly what your offer is.
Awesome. Yeah. So guys, if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I think the best way to do it is Jordan, Jordan, at cavesocial.com, and that's CAVSOCIAL.com. And if you take 5 minutes to write me an email, any question, anything about marketing, I'll take the 5-10 minutes and I'll write you back. With regards to what we offer at Cave Social, it's really simple. We help agents, brokerages, big size companies develop their brand and not be boring when it comes to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, blogging. We'll go in and really kind of take hold and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. And if it's something where you can do what you do best and we'll do what we do best, and it'll work out great, and hopefully your brand gets more exposure.
That's good.
Thanks, John. Obviously, we still are. I'm going to rapidly go through some of the tools and services that I think are going to be really useful to agent in 2016. And I'm just going to quickly ask for Jordan's reaction to some of the things we're going to go through. And then we're going to finish the formal show, folks. And then we're just going to go. Bill's got some questions for Jordan after the formal recording. And if you want to jump in and ask the open seat, we really would love anybody to come in. Jordan's going to be around for at least 10-15 minutes or longer, depending on how lack of boring we are. So to start off with, I think Facebook professional services, there, it looks like in 2016 that Facebook is going to go in to the kind of local search market and go up against Google a bit stronger. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, they're showing all the signs of that with allowing local businesses and now to verify themselves. Also, they're improving graph search all the time. So I think it's important to make sure that all of your information is up to date when it comes to your Facebook business page. And if you don't have a Facebook business page, make sure you get one.
Another one is a company called Bond. I don't know if you heard of them. I'll put the URL in. What they do, Georgian, is that they will send out handwritten letters from you. And basically, they've got robots that write the letters with ink. And really lovely letter paper. And the address is handwritten. And boom, and it's sent off. And it looks really personal. And it looked like it really came from you. What do you reckon about that? I think it's a nice little touch.
Yeah, I think if you're going to send mail, it should definitely be in ink. I forget the stat, so I don't want to misquote, but it's something like 60% more likely to be opened if it's written in ink. So
yeah, I've got a iPhone and Android app called Temporama. Basically, on the go, if you've got image and you want it, it makes text really funky. And those images that got those really kind of graphical looking text effects that you think they cost them a fortune to get a graphic designer in. This app, and it works on the iPad and on the iPhone and Android, will do all those effects for you.
Yeah, I've seen Typorama and apps like it, and I think they're a great way if you're stuck, if you're ever stuck for content. Take a photo. You can find a photo of your county or something throw on Instagram, Facebook, and throw some text over. Yeah, I really like it.
Is it Typorama?
Yeah, I think it's.
I put Typorama down.
Basically, a bit about email. If you don't want to cough up the $50 a year for Google Apps to control your email, a much cheaper alternative is Zoho Mail. They do a free service, and then their next one up is $24 a year, and it gives you practically the whole range of Zoho tools, very similar to Google Apps. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a business owner, you should always be looking for cost-effective ways to handle anything. Especially, I know a lot of people are guilty of spending a ton on maybe too many pieces of technology. And if you can get something like this, and I haven't used Zoho personally, but yeah, if it does the trick, I think that it's a smart choice.
Well, they do a free service, so you can try the free service and see if you like it. And then if you need more capacity, you can. But it is only $24 a year for the next, and they give you a lot. When it comes to CMSs, there isn't the perfect one, but two that I like is Green Rope and Contactually, which is very social. What do you reckon about those, Jordan?
Yeah, I think a CRM, I think you need a CRM if you're going to be an agent or brokerage. Contactually is good. I haven't used Green Rope before. One that I used is called Capsule, and it's just Capsule CRM. It's very lightweight. The free version gets one user. I think you need it because 85% of agents say that they would go with the same agent that sold their first home, yet 15% do, because the sales cycle is 5 to 7 years and people don't stay in touch. A CRM is a great way for you to update. Hey, Johnny Smith, his son plays varsity football. I need to send a reminder every August 10th saying, hey, tell your son good luck in his season this upcoming season, whatever it may be.
Yeah, back onto email. Email Hunter, I use it myself. I use the free service, but this is a really interesting one. Basically, if you need to find the email of somebody in an organization, you bun in their name, they find the emails for that organization. It's really that simple, and it really works, and it's really effective. What do you reckon?
I think it's good if you have met the person. I know some people might take an unsolicited I wouldn't do unsolicited emails. That would be, if you need to get a hold of somebody, do it. But yeah, yeah, I would say that especially people as they get smarter and we can kind of sift through they want that connection. If you're going to email somebody a question, you have an honest question or something, go for it. If it's genuine, and people usually respond pretty well to those.
Yeah, use it with a care, folks. Don't use it as a spamming engine, but it can be useful. I think telephone's not, I have a balanced view of this. I think some of the trainers in the real estate industry, the amount of calls they reckon somebody's got to do, nobody could do. But I also think cold calling still has some place. Not as great as it used to. So, but you do need a good tool. Mojo is the best for multiple calls out, but it's a bit like the previous tool, folks. Don't abuse it. So I think you're going to have some, because of the millenniums and the Generation X, you're not going to be too warm about this one either, are you, Jordan?
Here's what it comes down to. Whenever you get a phone call, and you see somebody on the caller ID, whether it's your mother or Comcast, you have a feeling. You have a feeling associated with that number, right? Like, I'm never excited to pick up the phone to talk to Comcast, but if it's my mother, I'm going to be a little bit more eager and willing to, pick up the phone. So I think that just remember there's another human being on the other side of that line, and you may be interrupting their day. So just use sparingly.
Another one, if you're looking you cannot just go on to Google and rip off people's images. You can, but in the end, it's going to cost you a ton of money, especially if you take an image from the Getty library. You're going to get a rapid, nasty letter. It's much better to get some stock photography. One, I use Big Stock Photos, and another one is Pexels. I find their photos, their library and the cost and the originality pretty good. So what you got to say about that, Jordan?
Yeah, high quality photos are huge. And if you can, and the one thing is getting a Getty image or something off Shutterstock is very, very expensive. If you have the budget, if you're a big team, I would say the Shutterstock, it pays for itself if you're creating content, a lot, but a lot of people don't create content that often. So I would go with something like a Pexels, or another one which is called Pixabay, which I used for a long time. Was great for getting free images that were really high quality.
Another one is HomeSnap. It's a kind of search. It's a kind of thing above the normal IDX. And it's a bit like search on steroids for agents, and you can white label it and offer it. It's not that expensive. So I have mixed feelings. I think a lot of my agents still want me to do custom work about IDX. But I think it's got to be original IDX, and you've got to show more data because everybody's got IDX, and you're up against these big portals. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Yeah, I think consumers are getting more and more used to using these big portals. So if you can have a branded site that follows that same kind of customer experience, I think that's probably the right thing to do. And especially something like HomeSnap here, where it's the simple call to action right in the middle. Hey, search for a property. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So what do you reckon, Jordan, for an old codger like me? What do you reckon? I've not done too bad, have I?
Yeah, no, it's good. I think there's a ton of useful tools here. And if you take 2 or 3 of them and implement them, I think you're ahead of the game when it comes to it.
So got any things that come to mind that you've seen agents use that you like to recommend people?
I come back to this and I say it on webinars. I say it all the time. Your phone, use it. You have a camera that is better than digital cameras and video cameras from 5 years ago. Take your phone. Just don't be afraid to use it. Get comfortable using the video. I think you have some real tools when it comes to social media. Pages Manager for Facebook is a great one. So you can actually track your business page. I would definitely use that. Anything image. If you don't know how or don't have the money to set up a blog, I mean, you can go to WordPress and set up a free blog and just start producing.
True. Right. Thank you so much, Jordan. It's been a great interview. And my co-host, are we going to go off the live session now, Bill?
Well, no, we can still record, but I was going to finish up just a formal finish and then open up for questions. Yeah. And I got a couple of questions too, and I'll do that after we finish up. So we'll take a break, and final Let me do a little sound here. Formalize it. Okay, that was a nice show. Nice show, Jordan. Jonathan, that's a crazy dance.
I love that music, Bill. I'm not too sure about that bit, but I love the. He's gone potty with his sound machine.
Oh no, I didn't even record that. So the problem is it's so frustrating. Let me do this again.
What, me?
Here we go.
Me, Bill, or the sound machine, or both?
No, I've been off the sound machine for a few days because I've been doing post production. It takes longer. It takes me an hour longer post production. But a couple of things here. This is a little remote control for a phone. You put it up on here, put it on your tripod, for the agents to film themselves.
Okay.
And I don't have it here, but I've got a little tiny lapel mic. It goes right on here. And my wife has the 6S Plus. I try to talk her into getting the bigger one. I don't know why she once you have it a couple of days, it's good to go. But the phone is probably the most important tool these days for real estate agents.
Definitely.
The thing we didn't touch, Jordan, and I like your view on this. I think video in 2016 will only get more and more important, and especially for agents and brokers. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's such. You'll see that as Facebook actually became the biggest producer and host of video, or the most video was watched last year, because people put YouTube videos right in. People eat it up. It performs better in social media based on the algorithms for Facebook. Also, it's better content, right? You can just get more information across. One of the things I think that's kind of hurt real estate with regards to video is virtual tours, those slideshows, and saying that they're video when they're not, right? I want to get to the next photo. I don't want the Ken Burns music. I want a real video. I expect it now with your phone. If you just come in and pan your phone across, that's better than even just, putting together a virtual tour. So I think video more and more.
I've got mixed feelings about this. I've got kind of mixed feelings about Boom Boom, Bomb Bomb. What's your feelings about what they're up to?
Bomb Bomb. What's the URL?
Bombbomb.com. Yeah, I think that's it. They provide. They've been getting traction. They're financed by a VC that finances software for real estate agents and that. And they promote sending personalized video emails with obviously you can't send it's only got a static picture, but they provide a much easier way of getting it all set up. I think it has its place, but if you overdo it, I think people get a bit tired of it. It's I think it's a way of avoiding the thing is you just got to write snappy, interesting, focused at specific groups in your lists, and don't bombard them with flyers and open house flyers. It's got to be targeted for the right audience. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Steven Spielberg, then send a video out every day, right? But if you don't have that new content all the time, like you said, everything in moderation, and don't overdo it. So funny
enough, George, my last girlfriend said that. Sorry, I couldn't resist it. I couldn't resist it. Sorry, folks. I think that's one of the only things with agents, and I understand it. They're always looking for that magic bullet. But I think the magic bullet myself is quality and consistency, day in, week in, month out. What do you reckon?
Yeah. I mean, the magic bullet is work hard, right? There's no, I hear it all the time, right? People say, I want to work smarter, not harder. Well, sometimes it's the smartest thing to do is, put on the overalls and get to it. So I really think that, there's no magic bullet, right? Talk to anybody who's a real estate pro and has been around the block, been there for 20 years, had success. They're going to tell you, right? You gotta just put that head down and get to work. So,
what's your views about the portals, Zillow, Realtor.com, Home.com? What's your attitude, and how you got any thoughts how this is going to play out with the brokers and blah blah blah? Got any thoughts about the portals?
Here's the thing: is I think at the end of the day, the consumer is going to drive this decision, and the consumers right now want to use the portals. I think there's something. I think they have an affinity towards this, Zillow or Trulia or whatever it may be, the Realtor.com, maybe a little bit more, or they think that they can get more out of it, right now, opposed to maybe just a single agent. I think that the brokerages it's a tough battle. It can be one, but I think ultimately it's going to be when Zillow makes the consumer mad, which I think they're going to relatively soon, because the whole 5 agents competing for one listing, and then that consumer gets contacted by 3-4 agents. It's just a broken experience. The last thing I want to do is say, I'm interested in this house, and have 5 agents call me, right?
Yeah. What made me laugh is they've got this new virtual, they're providing really crappy stuff anyway, and then they charge agents extra to clean what they're providing through virtual cleansers, aren't they? That makes me laugh when it's extra. So it's a premier service or whatever they kind of market it. You got to admire the cheek in some ways, but
yeah, no.
That's interesting you said that. My wife talks quite a bit because she's reestablishing from Reno, from Central California. And she had a really well-established farm. Our Christmas list was 600 cards in where we lived, and we're building it here. It's like 100 now. But it takes time to build that list. But that said, she's got 25 years experience, CRS, run 2 brokerages, Better Homes and Gardens, as run teams. And it is really tough to really start. It is really tough because you really have to go out and pound the foot leather too. You got to go and talk and meet people. You got to keep your online stuff going. And I'm helping them too. And she's got a pretty good blog page. She's got a pretty darn good blog. But, there's still that traditional real estate still there, and that relationship. It's like it is changing for the millennials. But here in Reno, wouldn't you say, Jonathan, the traditional relationship is stronger than anything else? You're out there seeing agents more than I am.
I think for the people that have been here for a long time, they've built up strong relationships, and it's going to be difficult. I think joining Chase was a good idea. I think your wife's extremely lucky to have you. I think really very, very fortunate to have your support. I think you need, we've been talking about this, about being more involved in social media, using Twitter more effectively.
Right.
The thing is, Georgian, Tesla is building an enormous factory on the outskirts of Reno, and also a number of other Californian manufacturers are opening satellites or moving to this area, Georgian. So there's a lot of people probably in the Bay Area, in California, Southern California, probably in the next 2 to 3 years be looking to move to Reno. And I said to Bill, that is the kind of market that Karen's got to try through articles, Facebook advertisement in the Bay Area, using Twitter advertisement. She's really got to become the expert for people who are looking to relocate, because she'll get more agents outside the area contacting her, referring people to her, and she'll also get more increased contacts from the people that are actually looking to move. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, this is, I'll answer this in 2 parts. One, I think, yes, you have to duck and weave with your consumer, and you got to be, if, like you said, if you're able to say, okay, a Tesla, factory is going to come in, or they're going to start hiring people, we know that that's 25 to 45-year-old tech savvy people who are going to be purchasing. They spend time on social media. They spend time on the internet. That being said, traditional marketing, it does work, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason it's still around. It works. Where I think the hardest part is understanding where to spend your money, right? Billboards work. There's a reason I see a Coca-Cola up on a billboard. They're still buying it. It still works. I just don't think it's the best bang for your buck with regards to, there's no, like Bill, like you said, there's no replacing a handshake. And I don't think social media will ever do that, right?
Yeah.
But it's, how do you continue the conversation after the handshake?
Right.
Right? And I think that's where social media go. When you got to network, you got to go to meetups, you got to do all this, and you really got to put yourself out there. But if you can connect on social and keep the conversation going.
I think it's a machine, really, Jordan and Bill. I'm amazed at the amount of I cut back my amount of networking,
Me too,
face-to-face networking a lot over a year ago because I've been busy with other things, Jordan. But when I used to go to networking things, I used to scan the cards. 1 to 2 days later, they would always get an email from me. I would connect with them through LinkedIn. They would be sent my monthly newsletter. I would try and friend them on Twitter and Facebook, not all at the same time because that would feel like stalking, but it would be done. It would be done methodically. I was amazed at the amount of people I hardly ever received an email from anybody, hardly ever touched me on LinkedIn, hardly tried to connect through Twitter. I was amazed at the amount of people that would go to all this and wouldn't even do the basics. I would consider the basics. Do you think I've been a bit too harsh, or is that been your experience as well?
It's what it is. People only see what's right in front of them. And this is the problem, right? We see the commission that's right in front of us. We get that commission, and then we forget about those people. We don't keep the conversation going, right? We're on to the next one. Or like you said, you go to this networking event, you think that went really well, right? And a lot of effort without a plan, right? Now you're just hoping for things. So we got to have a plan behind it. And like you said, a methodical plan. I'm going to go meet people. I'm going to find out the 2 or 3 best people that I talked to throughout the night that were just interesting. You might not even have talked about anything to do with business.
Yeah.
And usually that's the best type of networking. And then, add them on LinkedIn, Twitter. Take that first step, start the conversation.
And as Bill says, I also used to, but it is time consuming. It was taking up too much of my time. But I still believe if you can do it, is meet some of those people just if they're prepared to do it. Ring them and say, or ask them through email, are you available for a quick coffee and a chat?
Yeah, eventually, you can't be afraid to ask, right? And to ask for things like that, to ask people, you got to sell. At some point, you got to sell.
and not a title company rep or a loan rep.
Yeah, right.
You got that. That the agents have really easy, agents get taken out all the time. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying there, right?
Yeah,
that's.
I mean, people in the community build that.
That's what I said. Not.
Yeah, have social credibility that could be influencers, and not try and direct sell them, but just try and sell them on your knowledge, your ability, and your credibility.
Well, I'm sending Karen out after the first of the year to do the interviews. The field interviews, not actually do them, but set them up, run the laptop, things of that nature. We do some high-end interviews in the arena.
Is anybody going to join us and ask George?
Jonathan, I have some questions.
Oh, go on.
I got a bunch of questions here, and then people can ask questions too. Okay, here it is. All these years in real estate, we have never really taken advantage of referral networks. My wife is CRS. We're both brokers. She's a broker in 2 states. Focusing in at getting referrals is another source that a lot of good agents get, and they stay on it. We got to stay on people. Somehow, how do you relay that message to your community, your friends, your personal network, your farm, that you can get a referral? You can send them when they go across country or buying, or relatives or family. You can find a CRS in that community, which is a top-notch agent. You can check them out because this is a big expense. So there's money in there that a lot of agents pass up, that referral. How can they approach people and get the message out that they can find a top-notch agents in another area for them or for family, and then set it up ahead of time? And we always say, hey, we're going to give you 1 or 2. We suggest you look at 3 and then decide. But the 2 we give you are going to be CRS, they're going to be vetted, and you always can call back for Karen to talk to her if you have any questions in real estate too.
Yeah, I think in that situation, you're looking at a person that we're going to assume if they have a relationship with you and some level of trust.
Personally.
So it just turns into talking. And if you find out, people post all the time, hey, I'm moving across the country, whatever it may be. I think there's a way to vocalize when you meet people or when you're talking with people to say, hey, if you ever do, if they start you talk to people, they start talking about their job or they might move. Mm-hmm. Hey, if you ever need me to help you find an agent, like I will do that for you. Right. And I think there's no problem in vocalizing that too. It comes to like a 90-10 rule, right? Where 90% give value, give content, share news stories, and then 10% of the time go and, vocalize and say, hey guys, if you know anyone who's moving across the country, I would love to help them find an agent there.
Right. And, I mean, that's easier said than done, but you have to make people aware of that family. I mean, everyone has family, and there's no reason why they can't at least get somebody semi-vetted. You have a chance of getting that 25% referral generally.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are I think there's like a reservation to ask, right? To ask family. And sometimes it's like, I don't know, am I teetering that line of,
but you're helping them if you think about it. You're finding a quality agent. It's crazy.
Oh, I completely agree. And most of the time, you ever ask a family member for anything, and they'll be like, of course I'll help you out. Right. Like, or I'll pass you along information, whatever it may be. So,
it's a service somehow you got to relay. You got to connect to them. That's actually a very good service in there. The CRS is the vetting process. I know we have CRSs coming into my wife from time. She actually gets calls through the CRS system. But and then the other thing is maybe and then the other part of this referral on a website, maybe on their blog website, maybe have some kind of message up there, or even a short little tutorial on YouTube. I'm thinking out loud right now that would pop up. Why use a referral system? Why use this message? How this can save you hassle or something. The why. It's hard. It's a tough one. Hey, so Jordan, how long have you been in the business, and what got you into this type of work?
Yeah. So we're in year 4 of the agency. I started working with moving companies first, actually. Mm-hmm. So very similar types of content. And it kind of moving companies got into tech, and tech companies and real estate tech, and then agents and brokerages. And it kind of just one thing spun into the next, and Inman happened. And so 4 years, and we've since then, we got an office, I think we mentioned earlier, in Toronto and in Florida. But one thing that's actually a nugget for referrals, if you have a local moving company in your area, reach out to them. A lot of these guys are small little operations. Reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love for you guys to write a guest blog post on my real estate site, and start to build a relationship with a moving company, because a lot of times they might have leads, someone who's trying to move cross country, and you guys can start to share and build that relationship and build business off each other. With the moving companies that we work with, still to this day, we have agent partnerships in different cities, and there's leads going their way.
Yeah, good idea. Really good idea on the moving companies. When we do interview, we try to find vendors and interview them for timelines, and then that fits in back Karen going out and doing the interview. Very good. So that was the biggest thing. Because there's a lot of money you miss on that referral. Some people, some companies do nothing but referral too. And yeah, very good.
Great.
So what are the components in a blog page? We got a blog. We want content. Easy way to get content is just find out who's moving into your area. Maybe do a short blog about the latest 7 companies this month.
Yeah, I think with blogs, one of the things you really want to look at is staying power. Mm-hmm. And is this blog going to be relevant a year from now? One of the things it comes to, maybe not all about like here's what I'd say. If you were a plumber, right, you wouldn't write a blog like, here are the 10 toilets I worked on this month, right?
Picture
but right, yeah, like it's just no, but you might go and say, here are 10 crazy toilets throughout history, and like put pictures of the ancient Roman toilets, and then people start to go,
good idea,
and then you're able to go, okay, or they put up a picture and they blog about company culture. Maybe they're at a food bank giveaway, whatever it may be, because people don't want they don't want to be sold your service as much as they want to be sold your personality and what you have to offer. So if you have a way to do that through writing or through pictures or videos, whatever it may be, I mean, that's really the deal breaker, right?
Most expensive houses in Reno. Just go take pictures of them. You don't have the listings. They find out when they sold. I just thought of that right now. Or Tahoe.
Well, some of the topmost, Burning Man, the top 10 houses in Reno that fit in with Burning Man.
Yeah, the Burning Man houses in Reno.
The most wacko houses in the most artistic wacko houses in Reno Or I also advise, Bill, is I totally agree with you, Jordan, but I also feel, and Brian Clark talks about this, and some other people that I really respect, is choose specific areas and specialise and write up about the schools, about the area, and really provide some value, and maybe write all that out, then do a video with you standing there talking about the area, and then having some fun stuff which you then add to that particular section and build it out over the months. Right. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Yeah, the way we approach it is we think that the fun articles are what get people to your website. And then once they're in, on the back end of the blog and throughout the blog, you have all those useful posts on the 5 best schools, the best parks, the best, neighborhoods for young families, because now you're able to demonstrate your expertise, but you've had, these posts that are maybe a little more fun or entertaining to write. They've ran on your social media accounts and they've actually brought people in. So it's, hey, what's this all about? Then, hey, holy moly, these guys, this team actually knows this stuff, or this agent is super informed, right? So I think that's kind of a good strategy with regards to building content.
Another thing I didn't ask you, what's your view about Instagram and a couple of the other Pinterests? And do you think they have any traction, or can you be and also YouTube? I think YouTube's pretty important as well, but it's a difficult one because I also think you can spread yourself too thin, can't you, as well? Can't you?
Yeah, I think this is I think Instagram's a must-have. And I think it's a must-have because this is where everyone's going to be in a year and a half. So get ahead of it. Don't think of Instagram as something that is going to produce massive results for you, but posting one picture every 2 weeks and finding, something of either yourself or something you're out for dinner with a client, or even just posting a picture that says, man, I love Broward County, with a photo of, somewhere in Florida. That's still useful with regards to having a presence, because once again, it shows that you're in touch with modern marketing. And we know that we got 14%, I believe, is the number of mobile-only users, right? So we want to start thinking mobile first. The Twitter, Instagram, those platforms are mobile first. So I think it's really important to have. And as people migrate there for the next year and a half, you're going to see a lot more brands, a lot more agents, just a lot more people being very active on Instagram.
What about YouTube? What's your feelings about YouTube?
Yeah, I think YouTube is the place to be if you're creating video. It's if you're creating video that's longer than 15 seconds, it's got to be on YouTube. So YouTube's one of the great things. Everybody is familiar with YouTube, and one of the things I like is when you post a YouTube link somewhere, people recognize the URL, so they're a lot more likely to click it maybe than if you've hosted something on your own website. So I think that's a really useful part of it. And then YouTube is that's.
Yeah, we also got a question. I forgot. What's your feelings about Periscope?
Okay, yeah, Periscope. I feel like we're guilty a lot of times in every industry, but real estate, the new hottest thing comes out, and we think, hey, we need to be on this. Periscope, Periscope is immediate, right? So it's live. You got to make sure that you are good on your feet. So I think you should do Periscope if you're comfortable in front of the camera, but I think you should have a plan before you go on. So you really got to look at, hey, what am I going to be providing in this video? Just starting a Periscope and you're walking around, it's risky, right? So just have a plan. I think if you have the talent and you can speak over live video, then it's going to be a great platform for you.
Yeah, and Bill had this question: the best combination of people for a real estate team. I'll just quickly put this to you. I think the really successful brokers in the next couple of years are those that realise that they're in marketing, and they've got to prove that they're good marketers themselves, so they can do good marketing for their clients, and they've got to be marketing social media, digital media, new media. They've got to prove they're good marketers, and also they can do the technical stuff, the documentation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, one of the things about being an agent or even the leader of a broker team is you are not only the CMO, you're the COO, you're the CTO. You are wearing all the hats. You got to approach it like a startup, and yeah, you got to handle the execution, but you don't have to be the world's best marketer, but you need to know what's going on, or you need to be able to, pay someone to help you, or invest in the right systems, that help you really execute and get your message out. Because if you don't have marketing behind, you can have the best run plan or best plan in the world for a business, but if you don't have the marketing behind it, nobody's going to know, right? So it's
yeah. To kind of last couple, the other thing we were talking about the last couple of episodes is I'm not a great believer in these long-winded business plans, but I do think you need some plan and having some outline about what you're going to do around marketing and promoting yourself on a quarterly, 6-month, 9-month, yearly look is important, because otherwise, I was discussing this with Bill, I think it's really easy to drift, just kind of throw yourself all around and really get a bit lost. Do you agree with that?
It's funny you bring that up. That's the next post I have going up on Inman is how to make a real estate marketing plan. And
we have to have you back on.
Yeah. It's here's what I'd say about real estate marketing plans. You need one. Keep it under like a page and a half long, and there's going to be a couple things that you really need to do. 1, you got to set a budget. 2, you got to define success, and then 3, you got to measure your results. So as long as you're going and saying, I'm going to spend this much. Oh, and also you need to define your customer, right? Do you sell bungalows? Are you selling apartments to first-time buyers? Are you selling luxury homes? Define it and make all of your messaging around that. So I think
that's tough if you're a new agent or agent established, because you feel you should have to take on everything. But it's a mistake unless you really got to. I think it's best to focus on a specific broad niche rather than try and be everything to everybody. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, there's the saying, right? Be an inch wide and a mile deep instead of a mile wide and an inch deep when it comes to your knowledge and your service. So I think really, if you're going to be the luxury agent, if you're going to be an agent that specializes in bungalows in one county, know everything there is to know about them. Know what your typical buyer looks like. Hey, I'm selling to 31-year-olds who are buying their first home. I need to be where they are. I need to market to them. So yeah, I think really coming in and having that niche is super important.
Got any more questions, Bill?
Maybe Rob, I don't know if Rob's up right now, but I think that's his company up there. He does the commercial AV systems and all that system type thing. Yeah, right. He would on a team. One thing that I see a big change, and the Red Book, from Keller Williams, is really getting now where you need an agent out there, flesh to flesh, doing the contracts, all that, but you need someone with them doing the social media, the backside, and the processing. I really think it should be there's just too much to know for one person, too much to do. You have to have, and then the team multiplies how much you get. I've been a big team believer for 15 years. So I think that's the direction. In fact, that's the kind of real estate companies I want to restart. My wife hasn't let me do it again. But is the team concept, smaller offices, team design around teams, because you do need to do all those things, but you need one person right there, constantly on the phone. So you need to realize they're a team to help your client, or when there's something that comes up on a tweet or an IM from Twitter.
Yeah, I totally agree with you to some extent, Bill, but I really also feel it's the amount of transactions you're actually handling. I think it can be daunting, but I love Jordan's input about this, is that I think at a certain level of transaction, you probably are going to have to do it yourself. But then you need a 1.5 page marketing plan. You need systems, rescheduling systems, curating content. a plan, be religious about how you do your social media, and just kind of spend those 15, 20 minutes. Your wife's so fortunate to have you helping her, but it would still, as long as that person is committed and realise that they've got to be in the game, not that first week, but in 6 months' time, they've got to be doing the same things. It is possible to manage it. It just depends on the amount of transactions that you're dealing with, because if you're really wanting to build up a really big lot of transactions, you're right, you can't do it all yourself. What's your response to that, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, like anything, right? You got to treat it like a business and scale it. And at the start, it's probably just, I would think it's going to be a one-person show. And as your, revenue and sales starts to go, and more and more transactions, the more and more work, then it makes sense to scale out that team and build a bigger team. I totally get. On the other hand, though, if you have a team of people to start and say, hey, we got 15 years experience each, and, I bring this to the table, you bring this to the table, like, let's set up a little shop and get going with regards to making a real estate company. I think that's also beneficial. Really, it's all about the context in each situation, right? Some people are going to be the go at it alone type. Other people are going to come out and want to put together teams and bounce off strengths of each other. So I think it's really kind of it's unique to each situation.
Yeah. Well, the only new member I see from 15 years ago is used to have a listing agent and a buyer's agent and sort of a generation or a processor. But now you almost need somebody doing the social media for that team. They need a team. I mean, social media is a full-time job.
Well, I think it is and it isn't. I think if you have a scheduling system and you learn how to use it and you build up your resources that you can curate and get a calendar, and then understand you're also going to have to put more personal stuff, and also use your camera on your iPhone Plus, and do those videos, and also do some blogging, but have a schedule and get into a pattern. I think it is. I think it's a will factor. It's getting over that hump, and I think that most of us don't deal with that very well. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone would hope that eventually, their business grows to a point where it's busy enough that they have a dedicated social media or digital marketer. Because one of the mistakes I think I see people make is they say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to put the least talented person I know in charge of social media and digital marketing, because, it's what the kids do. And opposed to saying, no, it's where your customers are. So I think in the initial time, you're going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to either pay someone to do it or become competent with the platforms and at least, know how to use them and add those personal touches, use your phone. But
I so agree with you, Jordan. I think it's better to use a kind of, there are competitors to mine. I think it's better to use a semi-curated system and then use your own personal stuff, rather than getting some 20-year-old that's really got no interest, that they're just told to do it. I actually think that's the worst worlds of all worlds. But you're so right. You see that so often, don't you, Jordan? It's the least powerful person that's thrown to do all that, and they don't really half the time want to do it, do they?
No, and nobody's going to care about your business as much as you do, and nobody's going to represent it, in the way you can. And I think that really taking that and understanding that, okay, hey, I care about my business, so I need to pay someone else who's at least professional to do it, or has the ability, or has the experience. But you see a lot of brand mistakes, and it's usually as you're growing. It's not in the early days. It's usually as you're growing and you're a brokerage that's going from 10 to 30 agent mark. I find that that's where things kind of fall by the wayside, because you're growing so fast a lot of times.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Bill?
No, that's good. We're just a good, nice conversation. It's interesting stuff. The world is definitely changing. One thing we didn't talk about that didn't exist like last year, sort of, is this new streaming media. And how do you use streaming media in real estate? That's the last one I'll ask. That's something to think about because that's what we're thinking. Like streaming media, is there a way to use it? Other than we got Periscope. You could, as soon as you do an open house, you could do a Periscope. In fact, Periscope at an open house. But this is streaming media here, which is really unique. We have a live audience, and I know someone back in St. Louis is doing a real estate show around the different communities, bringing people in. But it's an interesting thought. How do you use streaming media?
Well, I think it's so powerful, and I don't, ask Jordan his thoughts, but I don't know if you agree, Jordan, is that as an agent to build your credibility, if you go to people and you go to non-profits, you go to community leaders who've got specific campaigns, and you say, why don't you come on a blab and we talk about that, and you get other people joining in and you market it a little bit, it just builds up your own credibility, and those people feel more morally and socially obliged when they're looking at selling a property to contact you first, maybe. What do you feel, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, the people want to reciprocate, right? They want to give back when they get something. So I think if you go out and you bring people on and you're giving them a platform, with more specifically talking about something like this with Blab, I think that's a great strategy, really. When it comes to like Facebook Live or Periscope, one of the cool things with like Facebook Live, for instance, is you're able to do the open house, which I would do, and I would keep it. I wouldn't be periscoping for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but hey guys, because there's people at the open house you got to talk to. So I would, hey guys, we're at the open house. We're so excited, blah, 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 blah. You do your spiel, and then that actually lives on Facebook too. And people can go through and rewatch that after. So I think, I think that the future is going to be things like open houses with Periscope and Facebook Live.
The day before the open house, go to the open house, do a little preview. I'm doing an open house tomorrow and put it live. The faster you get up in the Facebook, they say it gets a little bit more juice. Hey, the one one last question. This is a tough one. You talked earlier about going to where the listings are going to be, who's selling a house, where the turnover is. So this is a tough one. All real estate agents want to know, how do they find who wants to sell a house? What's the magic for high propensity to identify? We know 5 to 7 years, but that's just sort of random. We know new subdivisions turn over a little bit more than old subdivisions.
Right. Who wants to sell a house?
That's a tough one.
So there's a couple things I would do. In terms of actually getting, hey, this person wants to, getting that hard name. Yeah. That's hard to do. If I had that answer, I would be the biggest real estate agent in America, right? But I think things like Facebook's tools, which that give you, hey, these people are showing the signs, or if somebody announces that they're having a child in 9 months, hey, we're pregnant, we're announcing. Simple. That person's going to be moving in the next 2 years because they now need they need another bedroom. So you have now 9 months to make a relation to be that person's friend. I think that would be like a simple one. Is look at when people, or hey, the kids are going off to college, they now need to downsize. Stuff like that. I mean, these, stuff that you would see in everyday life that you see online, that would be where I would go.
Yeah, I treat it like hunting in a way. I think like agents, they're just interested in the now kill, the piece of animal that they can track right now. But the skilled hunter learns everything about the terrain, learns where the animals go at certain times of the year, which water holes they go to, and which animals show the signs of getting ill and weakness, which will make it easier for them to hunt and capture. And I think as an agent, you got to prepare your lead funnel. You got to kind of do all the track work and then look for some signs that lead to the direct kill. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the difference between, being a hunter and being a shepherd, right? In terms of like, sales terminology. If you're the shepherd, you're out and you have your sheep and you're cultivating or the farmer, right? You're cultivating your farm and the farmer. You're out there and you're planting seeds all the time, right? So, I mean, this is one of those easier said than done things, right? I think that we just have to be very self-aware and realize that it's not always about the short game. It's a combination of, you should take easy sales and easy sells when you get them. But you should also have the long game in mind when you're putting out content, when you're talking to people, when you see that, people are just got married or whatever it may be. You should think about it.
Just got divorced.
Yeah.
I know. Hey, they're getting divorced. Here, quick, both of them. That's a tough one. My wife has had a lot of transactions with divorced couples. That's always tough.
I don't know how to respond to that one.
Real estate thing. The divorced couples is the toughest in the world, and someone has to take responsibility. Sometimes it comes down to a judge saying you're in charge. Yeah, it's tough. Those are tough things.
So just to kind of finish up, because you've been a really fantastic guest, George, and you stayed on, and I think I don't know what you feel, John, but I think we've covered some really great stuff and some really interesting stuff. Is there a couple tips, things that you think agents should be really looking at or should be off top of mind in 2016? Is there anything like that you can kind of, I don't want to finish on divorce, really. That was a bit of a downer. So I like to finish on a high spot.
I forget. So you think new kids, get married, new kids, and divorce. Death. Got death.
Let's finish on a high spot, can we?
Look at the more pages. Go and put 20 cards out around the house of the person who just died. That's true.
Oh, come on, George, and save us.
Another one. This is death. The traditional one, as soon as somebody lists, if you put 5 and 10 around that listing, really for some reason, someone else will list. It's really weird. Where there's one listing, 2 listings pop up where there hasn't been for a while. Really strange thing.
No, for sure. In terms of 2016 and where I see things going, or one tip, the biggest tip I would say is just be self-aware. So before you post anything, ask yourself, hey, would I share this if I was the consumer? Would I like this? Would I want to see this? In terms of the biggest tip, I would say use your phone. Use your phone and get on Instagram. You can link your Instagram right to your Facebook page.
You sure you haven't got shares with iPhone?
I'm on Samsung. But yeah, it's. I honestly can't stress enough how underused the smartphone is. It's everything right there. There's no excuse. I was tweeting people today about the article while I was taking the subway into the office. Right, like it's right there and it's easy. So I think that. Yeah, I think that it's just so underused, and just really being like, because you can forget, right? I haven't posted anything in a long time. So maybe a scheduler, but really it's just remembering you have the best weapon in your pocket. So
I think we're ending to that highlight. We don't want to go back to the thanks, Georgie. You've been a great guest. We hope to have you, and hopefully you will consider coming back maybe after your next full article, and you've been a great guest, and I think we've had a good show. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Yeah, no, it was great, guys. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun, and thanks to everyone who came in and attended. I appreciate that you come and listen to things that I have to say, so I really appreciate that.
All right. You're going to do the movement, Jordan.
This is the show after the show. We get the virtual tour of the office. Now you could be putting Blab on here too. Come up with another one.
Oh, that's good.
Let me see if I can do it right now.
So we're a big community table here, and one room in here. So that's one of our partner rooms. I don't know, some stuff in here.
Nice.
And the foosball.
Oh, nice. That's very important.
Arcade.
Big office.
You gotta have that.
Yeah. So
we can't tell you millenniums at all.
So I know some. Let me see if this doesn't blow us out. I know somebody.
Who's that?
Can you hear it still? Is it echoing?
A little bit.
Let me turn this off. I've got a.
Oh, there's two of you, Bill.
I was going to there's another trick. I just have to disable the
that was horrendous
speaker on here.
That was horrendous, Bill.
Let me try it again. I'm just going to disable the speaker. The stuff. Yeah. here's the thing. Do you have a media room to create media in your own office, like videos, a conference room?
So
I know a really good company who's watching right now, Enlighten AV out of Washington, D.C. area. They build like media rooms for companies, B2B, and they're watching.
In Florida, we do. So Florida, we have like a room with the full, we keep all our recording equipment because we do commercials and stuff. So we have the full kit and caboodle. We have a full-time video guy there.
Yeah. Something I see for real estate agents, believe it or not, if you're going to build or buy a house, you're making enough to have your own real estate, is to create a media room, which is just another closet. You know, a closet. It doesn't have to be a bedroom. It should be no windows, a closet. It can't be a living space.
Right.
And they create it as a workspace for really, you could do some neat things. You could have all your cameras set up ahead of time. You could be knocking stuff out like that.
Yeah,
real estate
I totally agree with you, Bill, but I think, I'm not being a bummer here, but we've talked about it, and Jordan, I call it the secret agent habit. There's too many agents that want to become secret agents.
We talk about this. It's really easy to do. It's intimidating to be a real estate agent.
It is.
You're in the wrong profession if you want to become a secret agent.
That's what I meant with, like, you know, sometimes people are just scared, right, to like ask, and they're scared to put themselves out there. And like, there's a certain time when you have to say, okay, if you have a referral, I'd love to have it. Like, please, you're my friends and family, right? It's really hard to get through that barrier, I feel, sometimes for people.
Well, I'm going to go off there.
Hold a second. I know how to do this now. I figured it out. If I mute the here, we'll be okay. Now I can show it. So I muted I'm trying to think how to do this. I've got another phone on right here. So I muted my iPhone. I muted the little X right here. Now we can show around. You can see that, you know, back here is black. You can watch it from up here, down here. The camera's not as good.
Cool. A little studio. It's cool.
Well, it's not really. It's really crappy. It's a mess right now. But yeah, see the rest of the room? Bedroom. See, there's a bedroom back there. Stuff. That's the taxes. I just spent tons of money on taxes this year.
Oh dear. All right, I'm off then, Jordan. But thanks for your help, and I leave you with the wizard.
Yeah, we're taking off. Yeah, it's good talking. It's just kind of neat, just playing around. But there's a lot they can do. There's so much changing right now. Hey, George, just for FYI, what I wanted to do is I wanted to build we have a real estate company in California still today. But I wanted to build, initially a few years ago when I got out of the military again, I wanted to build a small office with just 2 MacBook Pros that looked like an Apple store. You walked in, had a Genius bar for the processor and maybe 1 or 2 little conference rooms, and that's it. And just get people a storefront.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool.
And then put teams in there, like 3 teams, smaller real estate offices with 3 teams working. And I still think people use Zillow a lot. I noticed when I was deployed overseas, a lot of the young officers were looking at houses to buy when they got back because they'd saved up so much money. And they're all, you know, when they could get online, and they're looking at Zillow, of course, the millennials.
Yeah, it's where the eyeballs are, right?
So, hey, it's nice meeting you. When you get in Reno sometime, give us a yell.
Likewise. I had fun. So.
Hey, one last thing I thought of. We have a lot of conventions here. I wonder if there's a way to make leads off of conventions.
Yeah, I don't know. I've very mixed feelings about conventions. With a lot of times, like, they just turn. I have mixed feelings. That's another talk.
I'm trying to think how to approach. No, I'm just thinking they're here. I could physically go to them. I don't have to travel. Right. Lots and lots of conventions. So not as many as Las Vegas, of course, but a lot of conventions in Reno. Well, anyway, take care. It was a good night. See you guys. I'm going to stay on for a second. So I want to say hi to some folks out there in the audience.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Take care.
I'll catch you there.
Hey, I still got Bill on. I've got 2 of me on. I can entertain myself. We're not recording. Oops, we are recording.